You're watching Home Box Office.
You're ready to watch the baddest heavyweight in the world today. There's nobody in the world could whoop me. Nobody. I knock them all out. And then retire, stay home with my kids, swim in my swimming pool, and relax and watch the world go by. So don't miss me on Home Box TV.
Tonight, from Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the World. The champion, Larry Holmes, defends the title he won in 1978 from Ken Norton. Since that time, Holmes has racked up 8 consecutive knockouts. A 9th would put him atop the record books. But now he must face number 5 ranked contender, Trevor Berbick, who scored a convincing knockout over Big John Tate. Tonight, the 9th title defense of Larry Holmes. HBO Sports presents World Championship Boxing. WBC heavyweight champion Larry Holmes defends his crown against number 5 ranked contender Trevor Berbick. Live from Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, HBO Sports presents World Championship Boxing. The main event, a scheduled 15-round fight for the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the World, as WBC Heavyweight Champion Larry Holmes defends his crown against the number 5 ranked WBC contender, Trevor Berbick. Hello, everybody. I'm Barry Tompkins. Sharing the microphone with me once again, the welterweight champion, Sugar Ray Leonard. Guy's probably going to take my job one of these days. Larry Merchant is ringside for expert commentary. Heavyweight championship, always all kinds of electricity here in the crowd, and you can really feel it right now as we prepare for the Larry Holmes-Trevor Berbick championship fight. Ray, question I have to ask you. Everybody is asking the question here in Las Vegas, has Larry Holmes prepared properly? That's the kind of thing you just went through in your contest with Larry Bonds. You can tell yourself, I'm sure, until you're blue in the face, I've prepared, I've done everything right, and yet there's still that question come fight night.
Barry, I experienced that with the Larry Bonds fight. The press, the public says, who is Larry Bonds? He's no major threat. I really feel that Berbick seems very confident, and the Canadian fans, they're here. They're here to support their champion. And I'm quite sure Holmes realizes that.
There's another question, too, that has to be considered, and that is, and again, I can liken it to your own fight, that was the fact that Roberto Duran, you came off an emotional fight with Roberto Duran, and in this case, Larry Holmes comes off an emotional fight with Muhammad Ali. There again, it is something that is easier said than done, trying to come down off a big fight and beat a guy that you should beat.
Well, in every significant fight, there's a certain high that you have, and it takes so much from you to come down to what they consider a lower level caliber of fighter. And I'm quite sure that Holmes feels the same way. He feels a little low-key and nonchalant.
That's what Larry Holmes is going to have to deal with today. Larry Holmes is the kind of guy that wants desperately to be the people's champion, very much like his predecessor, Muhammad Ali. He is a man who wants recognition, but really, he's a guy who craves small-town style that he has back in Eastern Pennsylvania. Perhaps most noteworthy, though, he is a man who wants mainly to be remembered really for what he is, and that is someone who has attained the top rung of his profession, the sport of boxing. Larry Holmes lives in this $500,000 home in Easton, Pennsylvania. But let it be known that his prized possession is not this property, rather his one-year-old daughter, Candy.
He loves her. He really does. Everywhere we go, she goes. He'll call in the afternoon and he'll say, why don't you come down and bring the baby? Bring the baby. I'm thinking he wants to see me. He does, but he wants to see the baby.
When he's not with the family, Larry can be found in his downtown office, in which he runs his disco and soon-to-be-opened restaurant. But above all, Larry Holmes is a professional prize fighter, and by his own admission, the
baddest heavyweight in the world today.
It will be a knockout. I'm bad. I am the champ. I'm bad.
It all began on March 25th, 1978. Larry Holmes faced Ernie Shavers. The winner was promised a shot at Ken Norton's WBC title.
It was an upper for me because he just had come off the fight with Muhammad Ali, and a lot of people thought he had won that fight. So preparing for the fight was pretty easy because I wanted to prove to people that I were here to stay. It still comes a time that I feel that I have to get cocky and to get me, to let people know that you just can't walk over top of me.
Then on June 9th, Larry Holmes took on Ken Norton for the WBC championship. In one of the most courageous displays in ring history, a disabled Larry Holmes took the savage 15th round and the WBC title.
I went in the fight handicapped with a torn ligament in my left arm. But I wanted it so bad. I wanted to give it my best shot. In other words, some people say go for it. Kenny Norton and I, at that time, didn't like each other. I think he had something that he wanted to prove in it. And I felt that I had something I wanted to prove besides I wanted the title. It was an opportunity of a lifetime, and I really wanted it.
1 year later, on June 22nd, 1979, an overconfident Larry Holmes nearly lost his title to the reigning WBA champion, Mike Weaver.
I think I took Weaver a little lightly, and it paid off for Weaver. I feel good just by overcoming all the obstacles that was in my way. Like I said, I must be blessed and by God to be able to rise to the occasion. I am the heavyweight champion of the world, and I have proven myself with 36 fights, 36 wins, and Weaver was one of my victims. So I am the champion. Weaver just what you call one of them things, a paper title, you know, something that somebody invented to give him to say we have a champion here too.
But Larry Holmes still had to dispose of one champion who had haunted him from the first day he stepped into the ring. When Larry Holmes stopped the legendary Muhammad Ali, he beat his hero.
I think no one in boxing would be able to do what Muhammad Ali did. But in the situation when it came down to him and me, I had to say, hey, you know, see you later, buddy. Because if he could have whooped me, he would have done it. I prototyped my career after other fighters, all fighters, who was tried to come back and didn't come back, who was retired and stay retired.
Now, at the age of 31, Larry Holmes is considering retirement. Apparently, Larry has learned from mistakes made by aging champions.
I don't foresee myself going too far into 1982. And this year might be my last year. But we're not going to stay in boxing and lose everything we worked hard for.
One day he'll just give it all up and you don't have to worry anymore. Because you just have to wait until he's ready. You can't push him. You have to just wait.
They would say he was clean. And that's the way I want to go out. I want people to say Larry was clean because I feel that I am a clean fighter. I am a clean person. I let people breathe just like I want to breathe.
Well, Larry Holmes is a clean fighter, and Larry Holmes is a clean person, but even though he may be just those two things, there still is controversy, which always seems to accompany any boxing event. And there was such a controversy involved on March 24th when Larry Holmes and his longtime manager of record, Richie Giacchetti, parted company. The reasons, they say, well, manyfold, but mainly it came down to training and a difference of opinion. Larry Merchant had an opportunity to sit down and talk with Larry Holmes about the whys and the why-nots of a very controversial parting of the ways of two friends.
Larry, before Richie Giacchetti and you separated, there are indications of strain in the camp between you two. And he's indicated to HBO that it's something of a squeeze play between Don King and himself.
Well, I don't know about the squeeze play, but, you know, and I didn't make Richie Giacchetti's decision. Richie made his own decision.
He's told us that he didn't quit, that he was fired. But nonetheless, has there been pressure from Don King, financial pressure, or how has this come about?
Well, let me say this. Richie quit. There was no pressure from Don King financially. I paid Richie Giacchetti.
Didn't Richie Giacchetti want to negotiate with other promoters, and you didn't want to negotiate with them?
Richie wanted to do a lot of things that I didn't want him to do, and that's one of the reasons why I felt that he was under pressure by Don King, that he think he was, but Don haven't put up no pressure on Richie Giacchetti. The conversation with Richie and I on the way I was training and the way I was banging the sparring partners, the way he thought they should bang me, I shouldn't bang them back.
Didn't Richie Giacchetti want to take the money from Harold Smith, the $1.5 million, to fight for him?
Yes, he did. See, I always gave Richie a percentage of whatever I got. And that $1.5 million, Richie would have got a pretty good dollar out of it. And I feel there's more important things in the world outside of money.
Did Richie feel that you weren't getting the right purses, for example, getting half as much as Ali when you were defending the title?
Every fight that I ever fought, Richie thought I should have got a little bit more. I think Richie wanted complete control. And this is why I didn't let him have complete control, because I had to have my own mind. I had to do the things that I wanted to do to make the right decisions for Larry Holmes, not for Richie Giacchetti.
Didn't Muhammad Ali get rich by putting himself into the marketplace and letting anybody bid on his fights, and whoever bid the most, that's who he fought for?
I think that's the way he did it, and that's probably the best way to do it. But I have went a different way than that, and I'm rich, Larry, and I'm not hungry, I'm not starving. I'm a multi-millionaire, and everything I own is paid off. I felt that I've been loyal to Don. Don's been good to me, and I've been good for Don King.
We asked Richie Giacchetti to make an on-air statement for us tonight, but he declined, saying that he was upset. A few points should be made. Larry Holmes' loyalty to Don King, with whom he does not have a written agreement, is very unusual in big-time boxing and laudable. And Richie Giacchetti, who reportedly has made $1.5 million over the last 4 years, originally got Holmes' contract from Don King, with King merely retaining the rights to promote his fights. Giacchetti paid nothing for that. So if there is a heavy in this situation, it isn't King. The question now is, how will this affect Holmes in his defense of his title? Well, against a more formidable opponent than Berbick seems to be, it might be a factor. But Holmes says it will be a different kind of factor, a favorable factor, because it relieves the tension in his camp. The odds makers here in Las Vegas, where there are a few of them, seem to agree. The only bet you can make on this fight is whether it will go 7 rounds or less or more. And Holmes is favored slightly to end the fight before the 8th round. What do we know about Trevor Berbick? Well, he has one of those names that sounds better suited to a British double agent scandal. And he used to be a diver for a salvage operation up in Halifax, making him the only legitimate diver in heavyweight boxing history. And, of course, he was brought in as a soft touch against former champion John Tate, just as he's been brought in as a soft touch tonight, and he wound up stopping Tate in 9 rounds. Well, perhaps he's one of those heavyweights who blossoms late in his career, much like Mike Weaver, who you remember gave Holmes all he could handle. Here's a look at Trevor Berbick.
Trevor Berbick is a man of many nations. He was born in Jamaica. He lives in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And it was only 4 years ago that he walked into a boxing gym for the first time at the age of 23. That was in Cuba's Guantanamo Bay.
I started when I was well mature, strong, and so far I haven't get hurt yet. And I feel like I'm 16. I feel young, I feel good, and I think it works out to my benefit this way.
The Canadian champion's notoriety came of age on June 20th, 1980, when a confident Trevor Berbick knocked out former WBA title holder John Tate.
Before I fought him, I made my prediction. I had it written down in the newspaper. I told him, listen, you all take me for an underdog in this fight, but I tell you one thing, if this fight goes 10 rounds, I'm going to beat him real bad.
I was 100 plus 3 days before that fight that we were going to beat Tate. And I told many people. They didn't believe it. They laughed and walked away. I told them, well, you will see.
John Tate apparently saw two Trevor Berbicks as he awaited round 9. And when the bell sounded, the boxing world witnessed a startling knockout.
So I just forget about boxing and just went in there and fight. I didn't care about he hitting me a few times. I just want to hit him so bad I hurt him because he insulted me before the fight. And I don't like people calling me boy.
2 months later, Ron Roussel would have been smart to call Trevor Sir. The Canadian champion easily retained his crown with a one-round knockout.
Bang goes the bell, and here he comes at me. Willing punches, throwing punches, and trying to take me out. I step back, and I move sideways, and I shoot my jaws in a hook. And before you know it, he was down in 31 seconds. That's exactly what it went.
But now Trevor Berbick must step into the ring with the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world, Larry Holmes.
Larry have proven himself, and I've been called a great fighter. And I'm supposed to be a contender, and a worthy contender. And I'm capable. I'm a qualified contender, and I'm fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world.
Trevor Berbick has set his sights on a goal which could change his life forever. He understands the importance of wearing the heavyweight crown.
A heavyweight champion of the world. It is something that every young man would like to be. It's part of being a man. It's something that the inner pride and ego that, wow. If I win the title, it will be a stepping stone to the things I really want to do in life. I want to be a missionary for Christ, not just for the money and the glory. Because I'm happy just being me and living and making money as my regular job. But I would like to go to the extent, all the way. I don't believe in limitation.
So Trevor Berbick has taken a circuitous route to here in Las Vegas, and he's going to have to wait just a little bit longer for his chance at the heavyweight title. The reason is a controversy over the tape on Trevor Berbick's hands. Let's talk about that for just a minute. There are regulations that govern that. 2 inches of gauze, 1 inch of adhesive tape, but they say that Trevor Berbick had too much, Ray.
Well, I put a lot of tape on my hands, especially when Angelo wraps them. That's for the protection, but then again, this is an edgy group of people now, and they go for the least small thing.
Let's talk about Trevor Berbick for just a minute. He looks very confident, he looks very loose, but looks can sometimes be deceiving. What goes through a challenger's mind? You've been in the challenger's role before, Ray. What goes through a man's mind at this juncture?
Well, at this point now, Berbick, there's a great deal of pressure on him, especially from his Canadian fans. The expectations are so high, and he knows fully well he's going in the ring against the champion of the world, which is an additional amount of pressure.
And there you see, of course, that he is the first Canadian to fight for a heavyweight title since George Chuvalo. And Chuvalo is a guy that seemingly has been around the heavyweight ranks, well, maybe back to Joe Louis's days. I don't know. He's been fighting for a long time. Finally hung him up not too long ago.
We ought to talk here about Berbick's lone defeat. That was by Bernardo Mercado, a good punching Colombian who has been a ranked fighter for several years, and Mercado caught him a few years ago and knocked him out in the very first round. Who can say what that was all about? Berbick has a very short history as a fighter. He didn't take it up until past his 20th birthday in Guantanamo Bay, where he was working for the U.S. Navy, and he then went and fought in the Olympics for Jamaica, which is his homeland. So he didn't have much experience, and sometimes heavyweights in particular have blossomed late in their careers, Rocky Marciano being the most notable one. Nobody is saying that Berbick is in that league or that he will develop like that.
I'll tell you the story that Berbick did say about his knockout by Mercado, and I think it's something maybe that we can all relate to at some point or other before we tell you a little bit about Larry Holmes and his title defenses and how many consecutive knockouts he's had. Interesting story, I think. Berbick said he lost concentration, and the reason he did, he'd had a fight with his girlfriend that day, and he said for the first 2 minutes of the first round, boy, he was going gangbusters, and then all of a sudden the image of his girlfriend popped into his mind, and Mercado's fist popped into his face, and that's what happened. As you look at maybe the guy who wrote the book on heavyweight boxing, and there is Joe Louis. He is ringside attending tonight, and we were saying earlier, Joe really looking as good as we've seen Joe Louis look in many moons, really.
He looks very healthy.
So Joe Louis, amongst a number of dignitaries, celebrities from all walks of life, and when you have a championship fight in Las Vegas, certainly that is one of the attractions here. And we are still waiting for the fighters to come into the ring, and the reason we are, as we mentioned, was because of the taping incident in Trevor Berbick's locker room, although Berbick did look very, very loose.
A couple of notes here. We haven't mentioned yet that Eddie Futch has replaced Richie Giacchetti as the trainer of Larry Holmes. Eddie Futch is a very capable man, well respected in boxing. He formerly trained Joe Frazier and Ken Norton. And he might bring a different perspective into the ring with Holmes. Might be a little bit more cautious with Holmes at first because they think that Berbick is a hard-hitting, awkward fighter, will leave himself open, and they are going to wait and get the measure of his rhythm before they go out positively and look to take him apart if they can. Another thing I ought to point out, we mentioned here before that he has stopped all 8 of his opponents in his defenses, Larry Holmes, and that's formidable no matter who his opponents are. And if you go back even among some of the great heavyweights, they fought a lot of nondescript opponents that they haven't stopped. So he's stopped everybody they put in front of him, and you have to respect that. But somebody has also figured out that in those 8 fights that Larry Holmes has lost approximately 5 rounds. The last time he lost a round, they say, is in that Mike Weaver fight. So we have a fighter here who, in his own fashion, without being a spectacular one-punch puncher, does try to go out and dominate every round.
Let's, in fact, Larry, make that comparison again to Mike Weaver. I think you made the point when we were talking before we went on the air that Mike Weaver wasn't really any more heralded than Trevor Berbick was coming into the fight with Larry Holmes.
Less, if anything. He had lost 8 fights. And if ever there was a classic example of a fighter who, after having a good fight against a well-respected opponent, suddenly feeling that he was better than he was, and you could see that mounting during the fight itself, he's the perfect example. And in his last defense of his title in South Africa, he looked like a real good fighter, did Mike Weaver.
Ray, let me put you in another hypothetical situation we touched on at the top of the show. But as the champion and boxing against the guy who you know in your own mind you should beat, what can you say to yourself? What do you have to do in your own mind to prepare yourself to fight a guy that you yourself know you should handle?
Well, a lot of times it's a matter of pride and whether or not you want to hold on to your title. In many cases, there's been so many upsets for the simple reason the champions feel so confident, a little bit too overconfident, whereas he takes the guy very lightly. Mike Weaver and Larry Holmes was a prime example. They didn't expect Weaver to do too much damage. He did. Larry Bonds and myself, they didn't expect Larry Bonds to do any damage. He did. And here, tonight, they don't expect Berbick to do too much damage. And there might be a big surprise. You never can tell.
What type of fighter would you think, in your own mind, would give Larry Holmes problems?
Well, the guy has to be pretty much a shadow of Larry Holmes. Holmes can deal with punchers. He can deal with southpaws because he has so much speed, mobility, and he's always in great shape. And he has so much pride within himself.
And Mike Weaver, of course, was a guy who really did give Larry Holmes all he wanted. Now, we've made that comparison, and doubtless we'll make that comparison again, but he is a guy who gave Holmes all that he wanted and then some. We're in the locker room now of Trevor Berbick, and you can see him still loosening up. He really does seem to be very loose and very confident, and I guess like in all sports, Ray, that's something you have to be. You can't go in tight.
Oh, it plays a major role. Berbick, the way he looks now, he seems very, very content. I think he's confident with the way he's progressing his training, his preparation, and I honestly can say it might be a pretty good show here.
Let me ask you another thing, too. He got that win over John Tate, and I would think that every fighter has a fight in his career that really serves as a confidence builder, the one that you say to yourself, now I know I can go out there and beat anybody. That might have been the case with Trevor Berbick.
Thank you. I would agree. When Berbick defeated Big John Tate, it was like, hey, okay, I know I can do it. The people know I can do it. And now there's another stepping stone, even of far greater significance, Larry Holmes. He wants to beat Larry Holmes, and he's coming out here to do it.
Larry, he's the only guy in the world with a chance to do it tonight. I'll say that.
No question about it. That's right. That's right. The odds are better on him than anybody else.
However long the odds may be, they're longer for everybody else on earth.
We might even mention we already have seen an upset, so maybe the stage was set for more of same. Dwight Davison, who was the #1 ranked middleweight contender, lost earlier tonight in a fight against really an unheralded boxer by the name of Robbie Epps. And so that was really a stunning upset, and maybe that might have set the tone for the whole thing. So here is the next man in the barrel. Trevor Berbick going to try his luck against Larry Holmes. Let's talk, Larry, for a moment about some of the people that Larry Holmes has defended his title against many, many times, something less than household names.
When you're a really good champion, most fighters you fight are of that category. You put them into that by how lofty you are. A good champion doesn't have that many serious contenders in his division. The man sitting between us can attest to that. Everybody knows there are good fighters in the welterweight division. There's one man, Tommy Hearns, who's considered an outstanding contender, a tough fight, but nobody else that we can say right now, and on the knowledge we have now, would make a serious fight against Ray Leonard. It's the same thing in every division, and every fighter has gone up against it. When you go back and look through the records of Joe Louis or Muhammad Ali or Jack Dempsey, there are a lot of non-entities on those records. All you can do is beat the people they put in front of you. Larry Holmes has been willing to fight anybody they put in front of him, and that speaks for itself.
Trevor Berbick making his way into the ring now, just coming out of the arena here at Caesars Palace. He is the man right now, and as Larry Merchant mentioned, he's the only one who has a chance of beating the champion tonight.
Right, and already this fight has gone longer than most people expected it to.
That's right, we're up to about 7 minutes now.
Holy cow.
Berbick comes into the ring, comes in smiling, and the question is, will he leave it the same way? Berbick was a guy that until he beat John Tate was not even particularly popular in Halifax, Nova Scotia. He was being booed at his own hometown, and the reason he was being booed, oddly enough, was because people didn't think he was really showing the knockout ability that he finally showed against John Tate.
Well, I'm looking at Berbick now, and there's not that much perspiration, which means he didn't really warm up in back, which could be a factor in this fight.
Well, the question here, of course, has been, and it is ongoing, it was the same way, Ray, with your fight up in Syracuse, has Larry Holmes prepared himself the way he should prepare himself for a fighter who has some talent? Now, the question, of course, remains, does Trevor Berbick have any talent?
Well, the Weaver fight, I think, gave Holmes a lesson. By his own admission, not only was he not feeling 100%, but that he didn't take him seriously. And he got away with that one.
Larry Holmes starts toward the ring now, and his own handler is sort of leading his cheers. That is the championship belt being held out in front of his handler. And Holmes comes down looking every bit the part of the champion here. Not smiling, by the same token, seemingly relaxed. Makes his way down the hallways here, the myriad hallways, and on into the arena here at Caesars Palace. Trevor Berbick just waiting for him in the center of the ring. And as he mentioned at the top of the show, there was always a very special electricity in a heavyweight championship fight. Crowd starts to react now as they catch their first sight of the champion. And here is Larry Holmes coming up out of the apron of the ring and now into the ring. Holmes undefeated in 36 fights. He has had 27 knockouts. And in fact, the point that Ray Leonard just made, you can see Larry Holmes coming in already perspiring, already warm. In the other corner, Trevor Berbick just trying to break a sweat now. Berbick, ironically, Ray, was on the 1976, or rather in the 1976 Olympic Games. He fought for Jamaica, oddly enough, and not for Canada. Right now, let's go up to the ring announcer for the instructions of some celebrities here at ringside.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we start the main event of the evening, there are some people in the audience that I would like to have you meet and greet. First of all, a man who emblazoned an indelible path in the history of boxing from Alabama to Detroit, Michigan to Las Vegas, introducing a former heavyweight champion of the world, the Brown Bomber, Joe Louis. Also in the audience this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, the current WBA heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Weaver. Standing at ringside, the WBC super lightweight champion of the world, Saul Mambi. Introducing the premier fight promoter, Mr. Don King. In the entertainment field, we have at ringside a superstar. She has proven it time and time again, currently appearing here at Caesar's Palace, the dynamic Diana Ross. A gentleman who paints pictures of boxers and girls and skiers and girls and swimmers and more girls. A very talented artist who you have seen his work in various national magazines. The very talented Mr. Leroy Neiman. And from Los Angeles, California, a man who, despite injuries this past season, had a great season. Let's give a warm welcome to the magical Magic Johnson. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Caesar's Palace Sports Pavilion, where tonight Don King Productions, in association with Caesar's Palace and Home Box Office Television, presents World Championship Boxing. These bouts are sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Sid Roget's chairman. The matchmaker is Bobby Goodman. The officials assigned by the commission for the main event of the evening. The judges are Joe Swessel, Chuck Minker, and Lou Tabbitt. The timekeeper is Eddie O'Toole. Counting at the knockdowns, Jane Broadfoot. The attending physician at ringside, Dr. Donald Romeo. The referee is Mills Lane. This is the main event of the evening. 15 rounds of boxing for the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the world. Introducing, in the red corner, from Easton, Pennsylvania, the WBC undefeated heavyweight champion, weighing 215 pounds, the Easton Assassin champion, Larry Holmes. In the blue corner, the heavyweight champion of Canada. He is the 5th-ranked heavyweight in the world by the WBC. He fights out of Halifax, Nova Scotia, weighing 215.5 pounds, Trevor Berbick. 15 rounds of boxing.
Well, let's take a look at the tail of the tape. Holmes, 4 years the senior of Trevor Berbick. The heights and weights are very comparable. So too is the reach. 3-inch advantage there for Holmes. Everything else just about as it is. The difference, of course, Larry Holmes is the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world, and Trevor Berbick is the champion of Canada. Berbick having 1 loss, tomorrow an otherwise perfect record, but that was a 1-round knockout at the hands of Bernardo Mercado. Round 1, heavyweight championship here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And Berbick comes right after Larry Holmes. Berbick has said time and again that his idol is Ken Norton, and he has in the past tried to emulate Norton's sort of peekaboo defense.
The kind of fighter Berbick is, he must carry the fight to Larry Holmes. Holmes is going to move probably a couple of rounds and get the feel of Berbick. Berbick has a very awkward style, and he possesses somewhat punching ability.
You saw Berbick taunting Larry Holmes. That's one of those things that you sit up at night after the fight and say, why'd I do that? Larry Holmes, possessor of certainly the best left jab in the game right now, and comparable to those down the line of the great heavyweight champions, too. In fact, people have said that his left jab is as good as most people's left hook.
You notice what Berbick's stance is. He's very awkward, and he's really off balance a lot of times. And the only way he really can score effectively if he gets inside with Larry Holmes.
Well, so far, Berbick has not attempted to do so, and Holmes remains at long range. Good right hand to the face that time by Larry Holmes. Quick left jab. Very, very effective.
Oh, baby!
Berbick again drops his hands. Taunting
that's the wrong thing Berbick can be doing now against a guy like Larry Holmes. Holmes is far too quick and carries a good punch. What Berbick should be doing is trying to get the fancy of the crowd and the judges.
We're in the first round heavyweight championship here in Las Vegas. Larry Holmes on the left of your screen, the challenger Trevor Berbick on the right. Holmes playing just a bit of a waiting game now, waiting for Berbick to come at him. Good left hand to the chest that time by Larry Holmes. Brings Berbick's arms down just for a moment. Berbick, a couple of lefts, one to the stomach, one to the side of the head. Berbick continues in that peekaboo, almost defenseless position. Does not seem to bother Larry Holmes at all.
Well, to a degree, right, it works. The little intimidation, the taunting, and what have you plays a part, especially against a champion, because all champions hate to be shown up.
Now, Larry Bonds tried that against you. As I recall, that was in the 10th and final round of the fight.
Yeah, it really bothered me for a while.
We're in the first round here in Las Vegas. Going to have a chance to hear some of the conversations in the corners between rounds. I think you'll find it to be very fascinating. Again, Berbick asks Larry Holmes to come at him. And you can hear Berbick talking to him. And I think maybe he got to Larry Holmes a little bit there. I think he might have got to him a little bit.
I think he did. I was saying earlier, all champions hate to be shown up, and the little intimidating that Berbick did, it bothered Larry Holmes, and you can see the results of that.
That's eavesdropping, Larry Holmes' corner.
Too much noise right here over that unusual incident in the ring. I've never seen anything quite like it. But I think something should be stated here that about midway through that round, or perhaps two-thirds through that round, there was a change in tactics. And Berbick, instead of becoming the sole aggressor, suddenly stood his ground and invited Holmes to come to him and try to land a sweeping left hook. Holmes would rather not have to do the leading, and after he caught him, that's when Berbick started to say, "Here I am, sucker, come and get me."
Well, we've talked about the psychology of the sport of boxing in the past, and you saw a little bit of it right there. Let's see how it affects both men. Trevor Berbick was the taunter. Larry Holmes was the tauntee. But Larry Holmes is the champion. Right-hand lead by Holmes comes up a little short.
Holmes is going to have problems with a guy like Berbick, because Berbick, you really don't know what he's going to do. He has a inside left hook. It doesn't really come roundhouse. It comes over and in. And I think it's going to bother Holmes for a while.
Larry Holmes' left jab is picked off by the gloves of Trevor Berbick for the most part. Berbick goes upstairs and downstairs with the left hand. Holmes' left hook comes up short. Berbick continues to taunt it. Trevor Berbick, a man with 20 professional fights. He's won his last 4 by knockout, so those all came, but the 3 of them coming after the John Tate fight. And there is a right hand that staggers Trevor Berbick. Best punch of the fight by far here in round 2. Berbick comes back at the champion.
Berbick's still a little wobbly, and Holmes realizes this. He's doing the right thing, and this shows a champion's caliber, experience. He's just playing with him, waiting for another good shot.
It was an overhand right to the cheek of Trevor Berbick, scored cleanly and wobbled the challenger's legs. Remember, Larry Holmes has scored 8 knockouts in a row. Good stiff left jab right on the button.
The kind of punch that Larry Holmes delivered on Berbick, you won't see, I doubt you see Berbick doing that little taunting again. I think he understands that Larry Holmes means business.
Larry Holmes answered him that time. Right hand lands softly on the cheek of the champion, thrown by Trevor Berbick. The fight has been held mostly in the middle of the ring. We're in the second round here, heavyweight championship at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. Flicking left jab up on the cheek of Trevor Berbick again. Berbick has that left hand down around his thigh. Again, a combination by Larry Holmes scores, and Berbick continues to say, come on and fight. Looping right, same punch that scored well last time for Holmes, didn't do so well this time. Close quarters now. The referee will break them. counterpunch by the champion. Again, Berbick trying to get under the guard of Larry Holmes, content to try to work on the body, go downstairs. And there's a combination that scores against the champion. Right to the head, scores. So the best flurry of the fight so far by Trevor Berbick as we reach the end of round 2. Berbick still yelling at his man, Larry. Let's eavesdrop in the corner of the challenger.
Well, he's obviously hyped up tremendously. He just wants to fight for about 75 minutes straight. He doesn't want to fight by the rules. He's very excited. Let's see if we can pick up the sound in the corner.
Keep it composed. Stay calm. Don't go motivate me to knock them down. Keep it composed.
The trainer is trying to tell him to keep calm because all that excitement. Let's take a look at there's the right hand, an excellent right hand, but it demonstrates that Larry Holmes, again, as we pointed out earlier, is not a great one-punch puncher. It's an accumulation of punches that usually results in his TKOs. There it is again, right on the button, a perfect punch, and it hasn't seemed to have affected Berbick.
Almost a social hour for Trevor Berbick. Between rounds, he was waving at one of the ushers who apparently he'd befriended here in Las Vegas, smiling. He's having a good time so far. 2 quick jabs by Larry Holmes. Berbick again motions him to come at him. Berbick has shown at least he can take the one good punch. Took a good shot right on the cheek from Larry Holmes in round 2. We're in the 3rd round.
Berbick has such big shoulders that a lot of times that protects him from that overhand right. So Holmes has to really be very, very accurate in delivering that right hand.
Again, Berbick working mainly to the body with the left hand. Right hand to the kidneys that time scores by Trevor Berbick. Larry Holmes looking like he's just sort of measuring his man. Berbick steps into him again. Holmes again opens himself, content to counterpunch and scores with the right hand. Left hand that time by Larry Holmes, and Berbick again says, come on at me. Both men in the center of the ring now fighting flat-footed. Combination to the stomach that time, and that's got her smart. Then Berbick comes back with the right hand of the kidneys of Larry Holmes.
Berbick see he can land some body shots on Holmes, and I think what he should be doing is continue to throw those body shots.
And there are 2 of them right there. Berbick is scoring with both hands to the body of Larry Holmes. But Holmes seems the stronger of the 2 right now.
You have to really appreciate Larry Holmes' speed. I mean, he's as quick as a lightweight.
And a combination of 3 or 4 punches sends Berbick reeling back toward the ropes, but again, he comes away from it seemingly unhurt. And again, a combination, but Berbick comes right back to the stomach of the champion. Well, so far, Trevor Berbick holding his own against the champion of the world. At least he's not awed by him, I have to say that. And a right hand there by Larry Holmes, and that doubles Berbick up. Again, a combination. Berbick still saying, come on at me. Berbick looks a little bit stunned right at the moment.
Those body shots that Holmes is hitting Berbick with is really bothering him. And I think Holmes is going to buy his time, wait for another good shot.
Right hand and a left. Holmes scoring in combinations against Berbick now. Berbick comes at him. Holmes continues to bang away back to the ropes. We come to the end of the 3rd round.
They showed each other a little bit more respect after that round. Holmes has spent the first 2 rounds trying to figure out the awkward rhythms of Berbick. He apparently has that down now. He's measured his punching range, and he's looking merely now to start to counter everything that Berbick does.
Well, we have have more boxing upcoming on HBO. Heavyweight boxing continues with Jerry Cooney and Ken Norton. That all happens on Monday, May the 11th. Live from Madison Square Garden in New York. Larry Merchant, Sugar Ray Leonard, and myself will be there, and it should be a good one. We'd like to have you there, too. Kenny Norton, Jerry Cooney. This is the last straw, I would have to think, for Ken Norton. People saying Cooney may be the biggest hitter in the heavyweight division.
There's Trevor Berbick. He seems to be coming down. He's settled a little bit now and taking care of business.
I don't think there's any question, but those shots to the body by Larry Holmes in the last round left their mark in the memory of Trevor Berbick.
Well, you notice Berbick is in a little crouch now. He's stooping over because he's trying to protect himself from that body shot.
And again, Holmes works with that flicking jab, most of which actually have been caught by the gloves of Trevor Berbick again. And there's a right hand that scores right across the face. The knees buckle on Trevor Berbick. Larry Holmes, some good, solid right hands in this fight.
What Holmes doing now, he's just picking his shots. You know, he throws his left jab and waits to get a good shot in with the right hand.
Had an ice bag between rounds up on the left cheek of Trevor Berbick just to try to keep any swelling that might occur down, and that's where Larry Holmes has been doing the most damage. You can almost see the champion taking command in the ring now as we reach round 4 of this championship fight. Uppercut with the right hand by Berbick, a little bit short.
That was a very dangerous punch that was thrown by Berbick because he was vulnerable by throwing that right uppercut for a left hook.
And it is deceptive how quick Larry Holmes is.
Now Holmes is on his toes, now he's moving. This throws the guy's rhythm off, gets him off balance, and a lot of times guys, Holmes is able to score a great deal.
Right in Berbick's corner now. Berbick trying to force the action, but Holmes gets out of it with no damage done.
This particular style now, moving, it's going to bother Berbick.
Right hand lead that time by Holmes bothered him, no question about that. And the left jab snaps his head back, and again, Berbick taunts his man. Berbick with a wild left hand comes back, has Holmes against the ropes, but scores very little. Berbick now changing styles, really coming at Larry Holmes, almost bullying Larry Holmes.
Come on.
And Holmes just kind of fends him off.
That hand off the neck, Larry, come on. 2 hands are free.
I know Larry Bond said that in the fight against you, Ray, that in order to have any chance, he would have to change his style throughout the fight, just so as he couldn't give you a chance to get set. What's happening now is Trevor Berbick is trying to follow that strategy, and he is being hammered mercilessly by the champion Larry Holmes. And another good right hand right to the cheek of the challenger Trevor Berbick there in Holmes' corner.
The uppercut is going to do the damage because Holmes sees this now.
And once again, Larry Holmes hammering his man, and the two have at each other, verbally have at each other. I'm not sure, but that the verbal damage that Berbick is not doing is greater than the physical damage.
What happened in that round was that Berbick suddenly discovered that shuffling forward at a very modest gait was the ideal thing for Holmes, not for himself. Holmes could just stand there and pick him apart. So in the latter part of that round, he's tried to stay on top of him and take away the distance and the leverage from Holmes. It remains to be seen whether that's walking right into the eye of the storm or not. Let's take a look at some of the reruns here, Ray. There you see Berbick trying to stay on top of Holmes in the corner, but he's catching most of the punches.
The uppercut was doing a great deal of damage, and here the right uppercut by Holmes and the body shots.
Reminds me of the ex-heavyweight champion of Canada, George Chuvalo. He'd chase a guy all over the ring, get him on the ropes, and then the guy would beat him up.
Well, the two anxious to get out to the center of the ring have to be separated by Carlos Padilla, the referee. They come back at it now.
I have a feeling that this is going to be a round that Larry Holmes is going to show everything that he has, everything that he possesses.
This is round 5. And Holmes with a left jab, and that stings. You can see now Berbick just react to almost every punch that Holmes throws. couple of flicking left jabs, and Berbick seems to have slowed down a step. And Berbick catches the champion with a right hand on the way in. Holmes is against the ropes as Berbick bangs away to the body, and Holmes holds on for a moment.
Now here we're going to see a real fight. This boxing match probably turned to a fight the way it looks now.
You got 2 hands free. Get hand up in there. Come on, get hand up in there. Come on.
Berbick caught Larry Holmes on the way in, but got a little careless after that. Turned to brawling. Inexperience showing a little bit there, I think.
Berbick seemed to be a little winded because I know he threw a right hand that didn't have any snap to it, which shows a sign of fatigue. The chasing, the holding, the clinching, all of this, especially with the big guys, the heavyweights, it wears them down.
They're in Berbick's corner, and the pace for the moment is slowed perceptibly down.
You can bang on there. Come on, punch your way free. Let's go. Come on.
You can hear Carlos Padilla saying, punch your way free, punch your way free. A couple of good jabs by Larry Holmes.
Well, you know, Berbick is reaching now. There's no sting on his punches, whereas Holmes can release 5, 6.
The head, Berbick. Come on. Get that head out of there. Let's go.
At any given moment.
Berbick continues to try to bang away to the body, and there's an uppercut that comes a little bit short. It's one of those ooh and ah punches, but no damage done. And as Ray Leonard pointed out, it's a dangerous kind of punch to throw if it misses, because it opens up all kinds of possibilities for counter punches.
You probably, from here, you're going to see Holmes do a little counter punching. He's going to wait for Berbick to throw and make a mistake, and he's going to capitalize on it.
Larry Holmes seemingly in control of the fight here. We're in the 5th round. That punch seemed to have some sting on it from Berbick to the body. And Berbick scores. There's a right hand right to the chin of Larry Holmes, but Holmes responds right back. Caught Holmes rather just stepping back with that right hand. Seconds near the end of the round here. Trevor Berbick actually has held his own pretty well this round. We come to the end of round 5.
When you see a big, strong, highly motivated fellow like Trevor Berbick, whatever his record and ability is, coming at the heavyweight champion, and you see that he just doesn't walk out there and win. He's got to work for it. It isn't easy. No matter how easy it may seem when people pick up the paper and read about it tomorrow or see the knockout blow, if there's a knockout, he's having to work in there. Let's take a look at some of the replays here. You can see the awkward style of Berbick and how difficult it is for a classic boxer like Holmes always to get the measure of him.
With all the swinging that Berbick is doing, some of his punches are landing, majority of them are missing. It tires opponents out, especially the arms.
So we go to round 6. Trevor Berbick, the challenger. Larry Holmes up off his bench, waits for the challenger now, and they come to the center of the ring. Holmes gets up on his toes here to start the 6th round. Berbick waits for him. Larry Holmes, very tactical fighter. Does what he has to do. Has scored 8 consecutive knockouts, so whatever he's done right for the most part.
Berbick is doing the right thing as far as cutting the ring off and carrying the fight to Holmes. One mistake he can't make, and that is to reach in on Holmes, because Holmes has a good uppercut, a good hook, and a beautiful left jab.
And in fact, Holmes has scored 2 knockouts with that uppercut. He knocked out Scott Ledoux with an uppercut. And he also knocked out Mike Weaver with an uppercut. Left hand slaps in on the face of Trevor Berbick. And again. does a little telegraphing of his punches also when he drops that left hand, I think.
Berbick's waiting to throw that right hand. He seems to be cocking it and waiting for an opportunity to let it go.
This is round 6 here at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. Holmes scoring with the jab in this round to somewhat higher degree of success than he has in the past. Spins him around, hits him with the right hand, caught him mostly on the clubs.
All right, break one step back. Come on now. Come on.
They break right above our microphones now. And Berbick continues to press the attack as the crowd starts a chant, Larry, Larry. Trevor Berbick scoring pretty well to the body, actually. Well, this is the 6th round, and you have to, at some point, start asking yourself, did you expect Trevor Berbick to be around this long?
Well, always they say a guy like a Berbick can't go the distance with Larry Holmes. And I think Berbick is destined to do that.
He's proved a worthy challenger so far. I know that's an overused thought, but I would have to say so far, Trevor Berbick has been worthy of the shot.
It seemed to me in that round, fellas, that Larry Holmes almost resigned himself to say this is going to be a long evening. Larry Holmes just said to his trainer, how's it look? Let's see if we can pick that up.
Keep moving a little bit more. Get that jab off of him. He's so fucking awkward. Yeah, I know he's awkward. One side at a time. Yeah. One side at a time.
Eddie Fletch said to him, get that jab off, and Holmes said he's so bleeping awkward. Raw passions and raw language, as fans of HBO boxing know.
Well, providing
but this isn't a tea party.
That's right. Provide an insight that you just don't get a chance to see often or hear often. Part of the game. Low blow, and Berbick complains about that.
This isn't the Garden Club.
And now Carlos Padilla tells him to get some of the grease off the face of Larry Holmes, so time is momentarily out here. Also gives Trevor Berbick a chance to catch his breath following what he thought was a low blow. And Berbick bores in on the champion now. This is round 7. And there aren't a lot of people around who really thought that this fight was going to go this far. Again, Berbick really fending off Holmes' jab fairly well, catching most of them on his gloves.
The way Berbick's body is made by Mother Nature, he has good defense. Big shoulders.
Berbick tries to counter punch there. Catches Holmes up on the shoulder.
2 hands are free, Berbick. Punch 2 hands. Get your hand up the neck, Larry. Come on. All right, break. Come on. Break one tip. Come on. Step back. Clean. Attaboy. Come on.
Pretty good idea of some of the conversation that goes on in the ring by the third man also, Carlos Padilla, veteran referee. Right above us now, and Berbick chases Holmes. Holmes gets out of there pretty quickly. Holmes really is deceptively quick. I've said that before, but I think in a big man, you just don't expect him to be quite as quick as Larry Holmes is.
Well, normally heavyweights just rely upon power, and which a guy like a Berbick relies upon strength and conditioning. Whereas Holmes has speed and good foot movement.
Well, I think it's a fairly good bet he's not going to wear down Larry Holmes. He's going to have to keep pressing the action and hope that he can score with a big right hand. Again, going to the body. Scoring fairly consistently to the body is Trevor Berbick. A lot of his shots are lunging kinds of shots, though. They make it hard to come back behind a shot. And again to the body. And Holmes gets out of the corner right above us.
All right, 1 step back, both of you. 1 step back. Come on. 1 step back out of there. Come on, Trevor. 1 step back. Let's go. Come on.
Holmes caught Berbick with a good solid right hand in the second round. That buckled the challenger's knees, but since that time, Trevor Berbick has not really been hurt. Larry Holmes has not really scored a big punch. And all of those blows going on the arms, except the right hand of the head that did get in on Trevor Berbick. And both fighters now banging away in Larry Holmes' corner. Holmes getting the better of it right now. Berbick with a right hand to the kidneys that time. That momentarily brought the champion's arms down. And now a right hand to the face of Berbick by Holmes. As we reach the end of round 7. And the crowd comes to its feet. Well, I don't know who got the better of that, Larry, as you saw it.
Well, I don't know who got the better of it either. I thought that perhaps Berbick did, but the important thing here is that the question no longer is the fight going to go any distance? The question is, has Berbick got the tools to do something? Can he win? Let's take a look at this exchange here, because what he's finding, I think, is he doesn't respect Holmes' punching power that much, and now he wants to crowd him and come in fearlessly, and this is the kind of tactics I think he's going to need to win this fight, to just stay on top of Holmes and pound away. Now, as we see the replay, I think we can say that Holmes won that exchange.
I would say, I think this is the best tactic that Berbick can use, is to smother Holmes' punches and fight him his way.
He's got to decide now, not if he wants to just be here, but if he wants to win here, and how he can do that.
So we start round 8. Trevor Berbick very much around. Has not been hurt really since the second round. Berbick has been scoring consistently to the body of Larry Holmes, and now looks all business. And again, Holmes' jabs being caught up on the gloves for the most part by Trevor Berbick. And the crowd now starts to rally to the support of Berbick. A lot of fans from Canada here at Caesars Palace.
I notice Holmes steps back with his right foot and wants to deliver that counter right hand, but he can never really gain position to let it go.
Berbick continues to stalk the champion. You'd have to say so far, Berbick is fighting an intelligent fight.
I think he's fighting the most effective tactics and strategy. First to taunt a champion, and then to really make him fight his fight.
And he's taken some of his best shots.
Which helps in a while.
Yeah. He really has managed to fend off the jab of Holmes, which most boxing observers seem to feel is his best weapon. Right hand by Berbick did score, but Holmes came back with a left hand of his own.
Holmes instead of walking around Berbick, trying to get in a very comfortable position so he can really let go of some really effective and damaging punches.
Trevor Berbick, considering he didn't put on a pair of boxing gloves until he was 23 years of age, really looks very much the part of a poised fighter. He's had only 20 professional fights.
Once again, that was a very dangerous punch thrown.
There is a good right hand that stuns Trevor Berbick by the champion. Berbick fights back, though. Stunned him for a moment.
Berbick's taken some of Holmes' best shots.
And still he comes back at him. A little bit of swelling on the cheek of Trevor Berbick. Doesn't seem to be anything that really would affect him a great deal. I don't think it would affect his vision at all. Sort of a welt up on the cheek. There is another good left hand by Larry Holmes. Berbick fights back again. Holmes' jab right at the moment becoming more effective. Berbick lunges in with a right hand lead and a left follow that misses. Come to the end of the 8th round. Trevor's still here.
Trevor's still here, but I thought he fought a terrible round right there. He stayed just right there for Holmes, and Holmes hit him with 20 or 25 clean shots. Berbick hardly got to him at all. he didn't learn anything from the previous round except perhaps that he had to pay too big a price to get in close to Holmes. That when he came to Holmes with all that aggression, that Holmes was there to meet him, and he doesn't want to take that anymore. If he doesn't want to take that anymore, he's going to lose.
Just like that round.
Because he can't beat him the way he just fought him. And you hear in the corner there, let's see if we can get this from Berbick's corner.
Okay.
You take this. If you can't learn it, you can't. I'll get it. Come on, now make him play.
Berbick fought a perfect round for Larry Holmes, and now he's got to find a way to fight a perfect round for himself.
Round 9 here at Caesars Palace, heavyweight championship. Larry Holmes, the champion on the right, the challenger, Trevor Berbick from Canada. Halifax, Nova Scotia is his residence right now. Actually raised in Jamaica, fought on the Jamaican Olympic team in 1976. First put on boxing gloves in Guantanamo Bay in Cuba.
For Berbick to fight Holmes in the middle of the ring is to his disadvantage because Holmes can outmaneuver him. He's quick of the two. Berbick's biggest asset is to fight his man against the ropes, smother Holmes' punches, and make him fight his own fight.
Well, Berbick now, as he did in the last round, and as Larry Merchant said, is back on his back foot and just kind of providing a target for Larry Holmes' jabs, which have become more effective in the last 2 rounds.
He knows Holmes tried to deliver that right uppercut. It's getting closer and closer.
That is a big weapon for Larry Holmes, that uppercut. We mentioned he's knocked out 2 of his opponents, 2 in the string of 8 with that uppercut. And again, Berbick is talking to him. Berbick still talking to him. Right hand of the kidneys. He's been scoring pretty consistently with that right hand of the body. Again, a right hand of the body by Trevor Berbick. Doesn't appear to be slowing Larry Holmes down. Holmes looking to counterpunch. And again, the right hand dumps right into the rib cage.
Berbick's confidence is steady growing as the rounds progress.
Good flicking jab that snaps the head of Trevor Berbick back as Holmes gets up on his toes again and just kind of circles his man.
Well, those kind of punches by Holmes makes the guy lose his confidence.
Berbick does seem to have pretty quick hands. He seems to be able to sort of deflect. And there's a right-hand lead that again staggers Trevor Berbick, but Berbick comes right back at him and taunts him. And again, the legs started to go. And another right hand. Right uppercut that time scores to the chest of Larry Holmes.
Berbick is really a showman. I mean, he's taking some of Holmes' best shots and laughs at him, talks to him, which proves this is not really an easy fight for Larry Holmes, and I'm quite sure as the audience will see it, they know that's a true statement.
Now, a little bit of Sugar Ray Leonard there, huh?
All I can say about that round is that Berbick says, hit me, and Holmes hits him.
That's right, but he didn't hurt him.
Larry Holmes is a professional. He's defending his title. He's here to win. He doesn't care how he wins. And he's fighting very, very well. If a knockout comes, he'll take it. He's far ahead in this fight, I believe. Let's take a look at a replay here and watch the best prize fighter in the world in the heavyweight division, certainly, exercise his great talent. There you saw a right followed by a left that staggered Berbick momentarily.
Yeah, to look at Diane Holmes, the champion's wife. And we go to round 10. And Holmes, with a little bit out of the Sugar Ray Leonard playbook also, comes right to Berbick's corner. Holmes looks all business this round.
Well, Holmes is a real professional, and here is strictly businessman. He's going to start putting his punches together, and they're going to add up.
I think Larry Merchant's point is well taken, that Holmes is well ahead in the fight, but Berbick doesn't have to run away and hide after this fight. I think he did what he had to do, fought the fight he had to fight, just maybe didn't bring enough forces with him. A little bit of swelling under the right eye of Larry Holmes also. Goes upstairs and then downstairs. And that jab really has got to ruin your whole night.
The left jab is a very important weapon and punch. It blinds the guy temporarily, gets him off balance, which enables you to throw a right hand. And this is what I see Larry Holmes trying to do, work his way to a right hand.
Holmes right now scoring with that jab almost at will, and there's a right hand once again to the cheek of Trevor Berbick by the champion. And another right hand snaps the head back, but Berbick taunts him once more. Berbick has taken some good shots.
I don't believe it. I mean, Berbick was hit by some very good right hands, and he's coming straight back.
It was set up by the jab of Larry Holmes, which has been very effective in this round. Larry Holmes also has that ability to just give you a different look every time out. Set you up with the jab and then came back 2 right-hand leads, both of which scored.
Another reason Berbick is able to absorb a great deal of right hands is because he has that big bodybuilder's neck. Very, very powerful.
And again, the left jab right up on the chin of Trevor Berbick. And once more to the cheek, and again to the cheek, and to the nose. And the right hand a little bit short that time. But Holmes seems to have his man pretty well measured right now. And a combination, the left to the cheek and a right to the right cheek.
Cut the tree, Jeff! Cut the tree, Jeff! Cut the tree, Jeff! Cut the tree!
I think at this point now, with the way that Holmes is scoring, it's going to start frustrating Berbick, because Berbick can't land a punch now, especially in the middle of the ring.
And they have stayed in the middle of the ring almost exclusively. End of round 10.
That middle of the ring is perhaps the best and the worst seat in the house, because Trevor Berbick is just sitting there and watching Larry Holmes doing a number on himself, and he seems helpless to do anything about it. A few rounds earlier, Holmes made an effort. He made an effort to get to Holmes. Let's see that right hand. Look at a long, devastating right hand. Berbick shakes it off. It would seem he can't take too many of those punches, but he's taking enough of them. I guess when he tried to go at Holmes earlier and stay on top of him, he had to pay a price that was just too heavy, and he just doesn't want to pay that price anymore.
Well, here's the next time the three of us will get together. That is on May 11th, and we will be ringside at Madison Square Garden for a good heavyweight fight, I think. Jerry Cooney, #1 WBA and WBC contender, big hitter, versus Ken Norton. And Ken, of course, could be the last hurrah for him. If not, it could mean a title shot once more with Larry Holmes.
Berbick is getting impaled by that left jab. He must do something about it.
Berbick is already given an award for going. This is the first time he's going past 10, well, went over 10 rounds. And he looks pretty good from now, at this point.
Neither man really marked at all so far. Berbick has taken the best that Larry Holmes has to offer. It's really hard to describe the impact of that left jab. You can just feel the snap of it even down here at ringside where we are. Again, a solid left-hand jab.
At a business standpoint, if Berbick can win or at least go the distance with Larry Holmes, he's in for bigger and better paydays also.
Yeah, it's easy to lose sight of the fact he only has had 20 professional fights. Berbick pretty stationary right now, and Holmes just circles him. Goes downstairs with the jab, now comes upstairs. Last round he would set Berbick up with 2 or 3 left jabs and then come with a right-hand lead.
Right now you'd have to say that Berbick is just totally intimidated by Holmes, even though it doesn't look it.
Well, he really doesn't know what Holmes is going to punch he's going to throw next. Holmes is so quick.
Well, it's almost a teacher-student kind of situation right now. Larry Holmes, of course, the teacher, Trevor Berbick, the student, and there will be something to learn out of this fight for Trevor Berbick.
Not to fight Larry Holmes again.
That without saying. Once again, right to the pot, he scores for Berbick, but that's the first time he's scored in quite a while. Again, the left jab as Holmes dances around him. 2 more left jabs, right on the cheek, landing within centimeters of one another. It's really amazing how Holmes has measured Trevor Berbick here, in the last 2 rounds particularly. Berbick pretty much of a stationary target right now.
Cut the tree, Jack! Cut the tree, Jack!
Get a pretty good idea of just how effective Larry Holmes' left jab is when you look at how effective Trevor Berbick's left jab is. Berbick tries to fight back, chases Holmes out of there, no damage done. And a left hand, kind of a slapping left hand that time. Well, Berbick came right back at him at the end of the round.
Perhaps the end of that round foretells what we may see in the remaining rounds. Berbick is here. He's proven that he can stay in with the champion for 11 rounds. Now we ought to see some sort of act of desperation from him. Some kind of a show that he's in a fight to win it.
He can pick you off if you lay back. Okay?
You hear what his trainer just said to him? He can pick you off if you lay back.
Well, Trevor Berbick, I think, is a tired fighter right now. Larry Holmes has given him a pretty good lesson in the art of boxing in the last 3 rounds, but Berbick did manage to come back. And Berbick now comes out of his corner and comes out of his corner fighting, trying to move right at Larry Holmes. Keep him off balance a little bit if he can. Let's see what he's got left. Lunges at him now. Berbick again says, come on, come on.
Berbick doesn't really have the experience under his belt, but what he has is the determination and a good judgment of how he can beat a Larry Holmes.
Well, Berbick does not look like a man who's fought 11 rounds. We're in round 12 here.
Well, now he's doing what he has to do. The end of that round did foretell. He's coming at him. He's going to throw wildly. He's going to try to upset Holmes' rhythm. He just can't let a man stand there and punch you. Got to throw punches, desperation punches.
All right, break 1 step back, both of you. Come on, get out of there, Trevor. Let's go, Larry. 1 step back, get it.
Well, Trevor Berbick has taken the best that Larry Holmes has to offer. Whether or not Larry Holmes has taken the best that Trevor Berbick has to offer remains to be seen over the next 3 rounds.
Get it off, get it off.
Interestingly, Berbick has been banging away right at the kidneys and at the ribs of Larry Holmes the whole fight, and I haven't noticed Larry Holmes' hands come down one bit.
Well, they say Larry Holmes is not in tip-top shape.
Come on, you guys.
But he seems to be in pretty good shape to me.
He looks that way to me, too. They had talked about the fact that he sort of had a little bit of a girth. I don't see that. Came in at the same weight as most of his fights, within a pound or so.
Well, he's not hitting with his belly anyway.
That's true.
Berbick, come on.
This is round 12. You hear Carlos Padilla say, get him up, Berbick, get him up. Berbick tried to go upstairs that time with a left hand.
Berbick can take a pretty good shot. I think that the damage that's going to be done is when Holmes go back to his body, because he's taking some of Holmes' best shots.
free. Come on, bang it out of there.
You notice Holmes standing there and trying to gain leverage.
Combination that time sends Berbick reeling backwards by the champion Larry Holmes, and another left cross to the chin of Trevor Berbick, who covers up and now fights back. And again a right hand as Berbick gets in close, another right hand right to the chin of Trevor Berbick, who comes right back to the champion. But Berbick's punch is really ineffective, and Holmes is scoring with almost every punch. A left hand on the top of the head by Holmes and a right hand on the body.
Well, at this point now, anything can happen. They're both throwing punches from all angles, all directions.
And we come to the end of the 12th round. So Trevor Berbick will be around for at least another 90 seconds, or rather another 3 minutes.
Right now, this is the longest fight that Larry Holmes has fought since he won the title from Ken Norton 3 years ago.
One more back.
And his string of knockouts, you'd have to say, is very much in danger. Let's take a look at some of the replays of the action there.
Far more the most effective punches, and here we see Berbick is trying to smother Holmes' punches, and that body shot that was delivered by Holmes did take his toll.
So we come to the 13th round. Trevor Berbick still around. I don't think there's a great deal of question as to the outcome of this fight, but nonetheless I think there's really something to be learned both for the champion and the challenger here. Continues to stalk Larry Holmes, a tactic that he might have been wise to heed during the middle rounds when he just provided a stationary target for the champion.
Berbick doesn't throw his jab, he pushes his left jab, which seems to be bothering Holmes because he pushes him off balance.
Holmes scoring with a couple of jabs of his own, comes right back with a left hand. And again with the face of Trevor Berbick. Berbick back with a right to the kidneys of Larry Holmes, but not a real effective body punch.
You know, his Holmes' left jab is like a whip. It snaps.
Get off, get off, get off.
Neither man really showing any marks. Here in the 13th round, Berbick has really taken quite a lot of punishment, but doesn't show any facial reminders of it. The right hand there did score by Trevor Berbick, but it was a marshmallow punch.
I'm trying to figure out why Holmes is not going back to Berbick's body. He hurt him in the earlier rounds with a good body shot that nearly took Berbick out of him.
Berbick again tries a lunging right hand that misses by a foot. Berbick's legs still seem to be under him now. Right above us now, Holmes sticks out a right hand.
All right, one step back, Trevor. Come on, one step back. Both of you. Come on, one step back. Come on.
Again, the body by Trevor Berbick against the champion.
Clean, one step. Attaboy, come on.
Both fighters seem to have slowed a step or just taking a blow here in the 13th round. You can hear the crowd now start to chant, Berbick, Berbick. And Holmes starting to lead yells and suddenly has to cover up. More. Berbick swarms Holmes onto the ropes, but no damage done by either man. Holmes spins him around, sticks out a couple of jabs, comes back with a combination, and there's a right hand that buckles the legs of Berbick as we reach the end of the 13th round. Crowd likes it. Very appreciative crowd here in Las Vegas.
there's a two-way feeling in this crowd. One, of course, is simply respect for Larry Holmes and his professionalism and how he's going about against his difficult opponent. Let's take a look at some of the action here as Berbick tries to get Holmes into exchange where he just might land a lucky punch, which I think is what this fight has come down to.
Well, both men are exchanging punches, but they're not really effective because of the way they're throwing the punches. You know, there's a lot of roundhouse punches, wide, telegraph blows. They're really not that effective, especially for a heavyweight.
That other feeling I want to identify now is a growing feeling of respect for the challenger. The mere fact that though he is outmatched, he's taken punishment, and he's coming on and trying his best.
We come to round 14.
Now tied in, you got two hands free, come on. All right, come on.
And again, the crowd takes up the chant of Berbick, Berbick.
Step back, come on. Step back, out of one.
Looking at Berbick's approach now. He walked through in the last 2 rounds. I think that, you see here, he's going to try to go to work.
Berbick kind of laying now on Larry Holmes, still stalking him though. Both men seem to have slowed a step here.
All right, break, come on, one step back. One to break, come on, to break the head, come on.
Holmes again continued to just keep the challenger off balance with that jab. Not having the sting that it had in the earlier rounds, but nonetheless just there often enough to keep him off balance. And there is another left jab, and another to the top of the head of Trevor Berbick. And the right hand misses.
All right, one step back. Come on, Trevor. Come on, Larry. One step back. Come on, Trevor. Quit punching. One step back. Out of boy, watch your head. Get back. Come on.
Larry whispered to Berbick, this is it. I guess he means it's time to get out of there.
Hand off the neck. Come on, come on, come on, come on. 2 hands are free, Berbick. Let's go. Bang your way out of there. Come on.
Again, both fighters now, I think, having slowed perceptibly. Berbick gets one left hand into the side of the head of Larry Holmes, but it's an ineffective punch. And comes right back with the left hand again to the side of the head that sends Holmes back to the other side of the ring, but neither punch really packing much behind it.
All right, come on, Trevor. One step back. Come on, quit punching, come on. Hey, come on.
Looping left hand misses as Holmes continues to keep his man off balance with the left hand.
The way that Berbick is smothering Holmes' punches and rushing them, it's quite difficult for Holmes to unleash any particular effective blows.
Come on, Trevor. Bang your way free. You got 2 hands free.
And by the same token, Larry Holmes, of course, has managed to keep Trevor Berbick off balance and off of him generally. Counter punch with the right hand that time by Larry Holmes off of lunging Trevor Berbick. As we near the end of the 14th round. Coming up, tonight's presentations of Apocalypse Now on the East Coast and Central regions, and special edition Close Encounters of the Third Kind on the West Coast and Mountain regions. That'll all begin immediately following the conclusion of tonight's championship boxing coverage from here in Las Vegas. Both movies will be seen in their entirety.
Right now, Trevor Berbick is the Canadian Chuck Wepner, a hero for going this far and a hero if he goes the distance. Wepner almost went the distance with Muhammad Ali, finally got stopped about 20 seconds before the end of the 15th round. Holmes is a little disappointed in his corner. However, before the 15th round of that fight with Ali, Wepner's handler says, listen, if you don't want big cars and beautiful women, we want big cars and beautiful women. Go out and knock this guy out. Wepner didn't do it.
Well, you saw the graphic there that showed you Larry Holmes' longest fights. He went 12 rounds with Mike Weaver. He went 12 rounds with Ernie Shavers. He went 15 rounds with Ken Norton. This is it, final round, regardless of how it goes.
Berbick will be a champion, win, lose, or draw.
Because Berbick has really shown well. No question about it.
I'll go right up.
2 minutes and 45 seconds of boxing left here in Las Vegas. It's been an entertaining fight. You got to say that.
Step back. Come on.
Trevor Berbick knows he has to go get the champion, and that is a chore that is easier said than done.
Larry Holmes wants to really get Berbick out of the ring because I'm quite sure being a champion and being the quality of champion that he is, he really feels that Berbick has no business being in the same ring with him.
Holmes has fought there's no taking away from the champion. Don't mean by crediting Trevor Berbick to discredit Larry Holmes, because Holmes has fought a very, very intelligent fight. He has proven that he did not take this fight lightly. He is in outstanding shape just by virtue of the fact of how he is fighting Trevor Berbick here in the 15th round.
Holmes is fighting Berbick the best way he can. Fighting a guy like Berbick once again is difficult. It's not an easy task.
Less than 2 minutes left in this fight. The crowd really showing its appreciation too. And I'd say really it's a bipartisan crowd right now. There's many people in this arena rooting for Trevor Berbick as there are rooting for Larry Holmes. And a good left hand by Berbick that time.
That was a good left hook by Berbick.
All right, break. One step back. Come on, Larry. One step back.
And Larry Holmes, I think now, is going to have to think twice about staying here and punching with this guy. Holmes misses that time with a looping left. There's a right hand by the champion that scores. And a left hand that gets Berbick off balance for a moment. A right uppercut scores on the chin of the champion as Trevor Berbick continues to pound away. Now Holmes comes back at Berbick with a left and a right. Under the 1 minute mark now.
Larry Holmes is truly a champion. Here he's fighting like a champion.
And a right hand by Berbick scores on the champion's chin. 45 seconds remain in the fight. Crowd is on its feet. It's been a good one here in Las Vegas. A right hand by the champion to the face of Trevor Berbick, who's on the ropes now. And both men are tired, but both men fight it out. 33, 32, 31 seconds remain. Right hand spins Berbick into the ropes by Larry Holmes. And another right hand by Holmes as Berbick comes back with his head on his shoulder. And a left hand by the champion. They're in Berbick's corner now with 15 seconds to go in the fight. Berbick with very little left now, just pawing at the champion. It's been a great fight here, a championship go that has shown both the challenger and the champion as worthy of one another. It's all over. It is all over, and neither man has anything to bow his head about in this fight, Ray.
That was a very interesting fight. Larry Holmes proves he was a champion. Berbick proves that he was a quality opponent and challenger to go in the ring against Larry Holmes.
So Trevor Berbick has reason to be proud merely for going the 15 rounds. He held his own. He didn't back off of the man. He did an outstanding job. And on the other side of the coin, Larry Holmes, who I think we'd have to say is the apparent winner of this fight, didn't take a step back. He punched it out in the 15th round with him. He showed himself the champion's champion.
Now here we see signs of determination by both fighters, the champions Larry Holmes and the challenger Berbick. Both are completely exhausted, but both want to win this fight really big. Berbick knows fully well he's behind on points, and here he just missed it with the left hook. Holmes scores the overhand right, and it's just a matter of time right now before the fight ends.
It's really reminiscent of the fight with Mike Weaver that Larry Holmes had. They were both standing toe-to-toe in the 15th round, too. And listen to the crowd. Berbick, that's got to really do your heart good as a fighter.
It does. And, you know, both men are going at it, and it shows the will and the determination of a champion and a challenger.
He's ready right now.
You look at the champion, Larry Holmes. Now let's go up to the ring announcer, and we'll get the official decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a unanimous decision. Judge Joe Swessel scores 150, 135. Judge Charles Minker scores 146, 139. And Judge Lou Tabbitt scores 146, 140. The winner by unanimous decision, and still the heavyweight champion of the world, Larry Holmes.
So Larry Holmes is the winner. He retains his championship. Ray, I would have to say one thing that did surprise me. Scoring is on a 10-point must system here, and that first judge gave all 15 rounds to Larry Holmes.
Well, I couldn't really agree with that. I think that Berbick won some of the earlier rounds. But, see, the crowd, they are booing and some disapprove of the decision. But Holmes is a champion, and you must be the champion decisively to take his title from him.
I think Berbick really did fight the fight that he had to fight to get as far as he did. And maybe it was just a simple case that, as we mentioned during the fight, there just wasn't enough Trevor Berbick.
Yeah, quality always presents itself. Larry Holmes, I mean, he has all the assets of a great fighter, a great champion. And Berbick, he'll be around for a long time.
You made the point, I think, that it's a lot easier to fight as a champion than it is to fight as a challenger. And I think you saw a lot of that tonight with Larry Holmes.
That's true. And every time Larry steps in the ring with a guy that they don't consider a threat, then it's all a put on, they feel.
All right, right now, Larry Merchant is with the champion, Larry Holmes. Larry?
All right, Larry, it's never easy, is it?
No, Larry, that's just to show you. They never give another opponent a chance. This man was strong, very awkward, and I predict a lot of things for this young man. All he had to do is be in shape like he was for me.
Are you terribly disappointed that that's not your first knockout as defense of your title?
No, well, he broke the ice. I'm not disappointed. I don't think about that anyway. The public thinks of it. I'm just happy that I came out all right, and he came out all right. I'm very proud of that.
When did you...
Also, Larry, I would like to say, my boxing gloves that I fought tonight, I want to donate it to some people so we can auction off for the black kids that was murdered in Atlanta. And I want to give a little notoriety for the Operation Pusher Jesse Jackson. And I want to say hi to my mom, my kids, and all my friends at my nightclub round one.
I don't care. Larry, have you ever hit anybody harder who could take a punch as he did?
No, I think I hit a lot of guys harder, and they went. But this guy was in excellent shape. I seen him with Berbick. With Tate, he didn't look that impressive. But I hit him with some hard shots, and this man took all the punches.
What about his antics early in the fight? Was he just keyed up so high that he didn't know what to do in there? He seemed to get you a little excited.
No, I want to play the same game that he's playing. I'm a professional. I am a champion, and that's all that counts.
We know you're fighting Spinks in May. What's after that? How do you see the heavyweight division shaping up?
We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen after Leon Spinks. We take one step at a time, and whatever happens after Leon Spinks happens. I just want to say again, thanks Home Box Office for letting me be on the show, giving the people again the opportunity to see the World Heavyweight Champion, something that the other networks didn't want to do, and they see it again. They missed out on a big one.
Thank you very much, Larry Holmes. You've always given us a big one. Now back to Barry and Ray.
And thank you for the commercial also, we might say that. Home Box Office, of course, very proud to have this fight. Let's talk for a minute about Larry Holmes and the image of the man. He, of course, has had to follow in a very big shadow, and that is the shadow of Muhammad Ali. And now you can really kind of see him start to become his own man a lot more as champion.
Well, I think Larry Holmes, he glows with determination and desire to win, and to win in a very classy way. And you heard what he said. You know, he gave Berbick a great deal of credit. I think that's a class act.
I think the fact is, and you made the point during the fight, he is not the kind of guy that wouldn't likely knock a man out with one punch. And Trevor Berbick tonight took everything that Larry Holmes had to offer, and he still was standing at the end of 15.
Berbick was in tremendous shape. He was determined not only to go the distance, but to win. And he deserves a great deal of credit. And like I said earlier, he's going to have prosperous and better paydays down the line.
What is the attitude that you have to take now if you're Trevor Berbick? You go the 15 rounds, do you just say to yourself, I did the job, I did everything I could at this juncture of my career, now let's go back and work just a little bit harder?
Yes, it's a motivating factor to go the distance with a guy, a champion, Larry Holmes. He's going to pat himself on the back. I'm quite sure his fans and the boxing people will pat him on the back also. He's going to go back to the gym with so much confidence, it's going to be unbelievable.
Let me put the reversal to that now. What do you do, or what do you say to yourself if you're Larry Holmes? You went through a thing similar to this. Larry Bonds lasted 10 rounds with you, and I know you're a little bit disappointed in yourself just because of the fact that he did last that long. Now here's a guy, Trevor Berbick, a much less experienced fighter actually than Larry Bonds, the guy that you fought, and he takes the heavyweight champion to the limit.
Well, Holmes being in the boxing game for so many years, he's experienced that. And sometimes you have bad days, especially styles were meant for each other. Certain fighters have a style that can always make you look bad. Bonds had a style that made me look bad. Berbick had a style to make Holmes look bad. You only accept it because you can't be good at everything.
Well, everybody in Las Vegas says that this is a show town. It's the kind of place that you get showstoppers, and I really would think you'd have to say tonight, we had one right here at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. Outstanding fight. Larry Holmes retains the heavyweight boxing championship of the world. 15-round unanimous decision over a very game Trevor Berbick. That just about wraps it up for us here at Caesars Palace. So for Larry Merchant and Sugar Ray Leonard, we will see you again May 11th, Madison Square Garden. Jerry Cooney and Ken Norton, and we couldn't get a better one than we had tonight. Could we? The executive producer was Michael Fuchs. This show was produced by Ross Greenberg and directed by Mark Payton. The associate producer was Linda Jackson. Assistant to the producer, Ricky Bernstein. And the production manager was Melissa Hoffman.
No mercy, no quarter, no place to hide from me on a man. Left and right, never came in order. No mercy, take it while you can now. No mercy, take it while you can. Back in my corner, they scream put him away, don't let him recover. Someone's eyes drill holes in my head. It is his proud, determined.
This has been a presentation of HBO Sports, the network of champions.
Crime.